Democrats are starting to split over Joe Biden's incompetence. You can see here, 50 Cent made a post about this on Instagram. You wouldn't think of him as a big Republican or a big right-winger, but he's one person who's in on this sort of split, this division that's happening amongst the left. But you'll see this goes deeper than 50 Cent on Instagram. We see some major breaks. This was a story from Politico that we'll go through, saying that Biden's Arab American boosters begin to leave his side, right? So Arab Americans are leaving the president's side. And look at this on the other side of the coin. The left has really let us down. Why many American Jews feel abandoned. What? So we've got a lot of people here upset with the Democrats. And that's a strange thing because some people might say Joe Biden is aligning with one side or the other, or he's trying to balance both sides, but both sides are very unhappy about this. But you can see this is even materializing in pop culture because Joe Biden was hanging out at the beach. 50 Cent made a comment about this. And he, of course, is a famous rapper. And he was not, I think a friend of the right throughout his entire career at all. And he's now posting stuff to his tens of millions of followers. Very curious. But he's posting that the president, while the world and the Middle East are seemingly growing in chaos, not looking like it is slowing down at all, the president's hanging out at the beach, right? And it's not a real good look. President Bush got a lot of criticism for this, golfing when there was 9/11 afterwards and the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. He was golfing out there. Hey, watch this drive. We're going to go get Bin Laden. Now watch me hit this drive. Puh. It's like, what are you doing? Are you dumb? People are having their limbs blown off and being killed over there. And same criticism applies to Joe Biden. You're going to say, what, Joe, what are you doing walking around the beach? What are you doing lounging on the beach? And this is what it looks like, him and his wife. Just strolling around.
What do you think about American hostages?
Hostages? And get rid of them. Can't understand you. Can't hear you. And I'm all for some downtime. I'm all for relaxing and all that, but they criticize George Bush about this, man, and they beat up Donald Trump about this all the time. Trump's on the golf course. Ah! Crying. And now Joe Biden is walking around with his wife. All right, now that's just one scene. Now the scene that really caught some attention was this post from 50 Cent. You can see he posted this here. And he's got a lot of followers out there. He's got 8,300 comments when this thing was screenshotted. And look at this. 80,000 others like this thing. It says, this was a post from 50 Cent. Here's Joe Biden lounging on the beach and his wife's reading some book and they're just kind of, hanging out. It's nice. It looks nice. Yeah, it'd be nice to hang on the beach and kind of enjoy life. But here is the president and 50 Cent said, hey, Joe, get the F up. We in trouble, man. We in trouble, man. Let's go. And underneath that says Trump would never, look at this, his post there. Trump would never bring the homie back. Tell me about it. Yeah, I know. That would be nice. But that is what 50 Cent posted. And that's just, the tip of the iceberg on this, right? You're really seeing some division amongst the left. And it's interesting to watch this because this story came over from Politico and they say, the man broke my heart. Biden's Arab American boosters begin to leave his side. And we've talked a lot about the squad, AOC and Tlaib and Bush and others. And Ilhan Omar, I think they make up the four, the squad gals. And they're very upset about this. AOC is contorting herself into a pretzel every time she shows up on CNN. They're like, wait a minute, I thought you liked that side. Oh, you like that side? Oh, you like this side? Oh, now you like this side. That's interesting how that works. What's going on? And I think this is a big problem of their strategy in general. They cobble together a bunch of groups. They just treat everybody like they're unique and they can give them favors over other sides and stuff. And they just play this game all the time. And that's why they have so many alphabets that they try to put together to beat the other side. Whereas in my opinion, our side is just much more consistent. It's like, hey, we just like equal protection of the law, free speech, due process, the presumption of innocence, absolute First Amendment protection, Second Amendment. We can just keep that base layer. And if we enforce that base layer, everybody will have an opportunity to succeed. But when you don't play that way, when you start favoring other people and you have this jockeying of who goes first and who's the bigger victim, and you got to give our side this money and this land and these rights, but not that side, that land and their money and their rights. And you start to divide everything. It gets very messy very quickly. And as we can see here, it's not just the Arab Americans, it's also the Jewish side. The left has really let us down. We'll see what the LA Times says about that. So Politico reports these Arab Americans were among Biden's biggest fans. Now they're warning they and others could abandon him in 2024. That's not good. Not good for them. Maysoon Zayed is a Palestinian American comedian. He did everything she could to get Joe Biden elected. Not a good move. Not a good move at all. She starred in a comedy event boosting him. She spoke on a call organized by the Biden campaign featuring Arab women supporting him. Biden's team even touted her endorsement in a press release. But it's only good enough to get him elected, right? These people treat people like trading cards. They treat people just like skin colors on a bag of meat. It's disgusting what they do. But they do, and people jump in line and they play the game for whatever stupid reason. But after watching how Biden has navigated the Israel-Hamas war over the last 2 weeks, Zaid said she can no longer vote for him in 2024. Oh, man. She said, the man broke my heart. Why did you believe in Joe Biden in the first place, for crying out loud? Now, as Israel prepares for a likely ground invasion to retaliate against Hamas, Zaid is among many fearful of what's going to come. She's got a 7-year-old guts in the region. She wants Biden to push for a ceasefire, as does AOC and others. She is also scared for Palestinians and Muslims in the United States, some of whom have faced increased hatred and violence since the wars began, and feels that Biden has talked about the conflict in a way that has inflamed the tensions. I never in my life thought that the empathizer-in-chief would sound the way he did. The Palestinians were given no humanity, she said. Joe Biden should spend every breath he has condemning Israel with the same zeal he condemned Hamas. And we get nothing. 1,000 children are dead, and we get nothing. I don't know if those numbers are accurate or not, but I know the numbers are going up pretty dramatically. The latest that I saw from UN numbers were about 5,000 total dead. This is what they were posting right now. Gaza deaths reached new levels, surpassed 5,000 as of Monday. This is a UN figure from UN.org. The Gaza death toll passes 5,000 with no ceasefire in sight. Echoing that message, Chief Tedros issued a new appeal on Monday for a sustained safe package. Life depends on these decisions. Latest number from the Gaza Ministry of Health say that the total killed 5,087, right? In the days since October 7th, Biden has enjoyed broad support among his voters from the embrace of Israel. We're going to see on the other side, too. I've got another article saying they're not happy either. And condemnation of the Palestinian militant group Hamas. But he is facing anger from many Arab Americans, many Muslims, and their progressive allies over what they see as an uneven response and a failure to push for de-escalation. Here's another one. Her name is Hala Hijazi. She says she's a Democratic donor and a fundraiser. She attended the Eid al-Fitr, apologies on the mispronunciation on that, celebration at the White House. She said she is considering leaving the National Finance Network that supports Biden over the handling of the war. She said several of her family members have been killed in Gaza since the conflict began and fears for the lives of more of them. She says, I have been one of his biggest fans and I feel betrayed. I feel like my humanity is not equal to anyone else's humanity. She doesn't often speak to the press, but she said, my family is going to be dead in the coming days and I can't be silent. Though Biden has condemned Islamophobia and expressed sympathy for the civilians in his Oval Office speech on Thursday, many in the Muslim and Arab communities believe that his president and their aides have been reckless in their language. They say they have amplified their warnings, telling Biden and their teams that the frustrations could hurt him in the race next year. While those voters make up a small portion, they can be a key block, especially in tight places like Michigan and Pennsylvania. Exit polls show a clear majority of Muslims voted for Biden in 2022. Do you think that will be the same situation now, moving forward? Because they have pledged total support to Israel. And we're seeing a lot of protests around all the various colleges and county campuses and so on, where they are gathering in large numbers. And those people, many of them were the same maskers who were very excited to vote for Joe Biden in 2020. My point is, those were the same people that would have been majorly in favor of him. Now, also to be fair on this, do you think that they're really not going to vote for him when Donald Trump is his opponent? I have a hard time believing that, actually. Like, they may throw a big fit, Joe Biden's the worst, whatever. They're going to line up in droves and vote like good little commies. The argument being made is not that this bloc will suddenly swing to Trump. Instead, in more than a dozen interviews, they just say they're going to sit it out. I doubt it. The voters are heartbroken. They don't want to vote for Trump, but right now they're asking themselves, how can we vote for the other side in a situation like this? I'm most concerned about whether they're just going to stay home. But look, it's not just the Arab and the Muslim side. This is another story over from LA Times. They tell us the same things coming from the opposite perspective. They say the left has really let us down. Why many American Jews feel abandoned. Well, that's curious. They're abandoned from the left? Both sides are not feeling happy about this here, which has basically been a pattern for a couple thousand years. But like many American Jews, Jonah Goldman sides politically with the left, including his push for the rights of Palestinians. Well, that's interesting. Now, during college, he was active in J Street, liberal Jewish advocacy group that opposes the Israeli occupation. So this was the protest that took place in the Capitol building. And I think a lot of people, and I don't want to speak for them, but this is just me as an outside observer, I felt like I saw a lot of Jewish people saying that they disavowed this, okay? Because apparently these were some Jews. These were Jews say ceasefire now, right? Big reaction to this on the X, where they were saying that's not the official position of Israel, right? Like this is a small subsection of their community. This is interesting regardless, like however you want to splice it, right? However you want to break it down, and I'm obviously not qualified to do that, but this is what their headline is, okay? American Jews feel abandoned. Why many American Jews feel abandoned. So here's what they said. During college, he was active, but in the aftermath of Hamas's gruesome raid on Israel, Goldman has never felt so isolated from people he considers allies. So all of the protests at Harvard and all of the assemblies, I think they were in Michigan and elsewhere. He says the militants killed more than 1,400 people, most of them civilians, slaughtering families, including children, and taking more than 200 hostage. We covered that at length here, the day that it happened. Awful. Good people he never considered anti-Semitic suddenly seemed supportive of Jewish genocide. On social media and campuses all around the place, he's watching all his friends. They're all like, get rid of Israel. He's like, what? We voted for you. He's like, you're part of the squad. What are you talking about? He says the left has really let us down. This person, Goldman, lives in the Washington area, considers himself a Democrat and a socialist. His political identity crisis is shared by numerous Jewish activists, scholars, and rabbis who have long seen Israel as an oppressor of the Palestinians, right? So that I would say is non-consensus. The point is, there are some serious divisions that are taking place on both sides of the aisle on this, and it's been interesting to watch because we see, doesn't look like a ceasefire is coming in. UN and the EU are calling for ceasefires, but not sure that's going to be happening. We see this division increasing with AOC and others now getting reaction to their statements. So AOC is part of the squad with Taleb and Ilhan Omar and Cori Bush, and they have taken the pro-Palestinian side, calling for ceasefires and so on. And then it turns out that Israel responded to this and basically said they're not allowed to come to Israel. Banned 2 sitting members of Congress from coming to Israel. Netanyahu did that. She's very upset about it, says our whole government should be outraged about this. And here's what she says. More division amongst the left.
On that note about what's happening to them, I can't help but notice that you mentioned dehumanization, all or almost all of the at least 18 House Democrats who've called for a ceasefire in Gaza are people of color. How much of the congressional indifference to Palestinian life in Gaza, the refusal in D.C. to acknowledge sometimes the humanity and the innocence, not to mention suffering of ordinary Gazans, how much of that is driven by the fact that they're Arabs or they're mostly all Muslims or they don't look like us, do you think?
I mean, I will say that I have long found the ignoring and sidelining of Palestinians in the U.S. House of Representatives, the humanity of Palestinian populations in the 5 years that I've been in Congress quite shocking. This is not something that is new to many of us. I have engaged alongside many of my colleagues from Betty McCollum's bill on the detention, conditioning aid and making sure that it's not going to the detention of children, to just raising the routine human rights issues. We've been trying to raise the alarm bells around this for years, and there has been virtually no acknowledgement in the United States House of Representatives about the extreme plight and continued human rights violations of the Palestinian people for years. I think I found it alarming. I found it shocking. When in 2019 or 2020, in our first term of the House of Representatives, when Prime Minister Netanyahu banned 2 United States sitting members of Congress from coming to Israel. Representatives Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar banned 2 members of the United States Congress from entering the country, that my own colleagues did not seem to say or do much of anything. That should be an affront to our entire government and country.
Yeah, what do you want to do? Go to war with Israel now too? What are the consequences of that? Yeah, being banned from things sucks, doesn't it, AOC? It's not good to be banned from things in general. And it is maybe something that will continue. Maybe they'll ban AOC and Ilhan Omar in addition to Taleb and Cori Bush. But you can see the fractures are really starting to emerge, right? She was like very very animated there about Netanyahu and Israel. That was almost visceral reaction coming out of her mouth. And so you can see the split continues to widen every day, and it's going to be curious to see how what this results in the 2024 election. If this continues to escalate, we'll continue to cover, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and hitting that like button, and we'll see you on the next one.